Hello, everyone. This is Hera Diani. Welcome to Ancient Voice Rising. If you are new here, please subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and if you resonate with the information that we are placing out into the field, please hit the share button. If you have any questions that you would like answered or any podcast requests, please write them in the comments. If you would like to be on Ancient Voice Rising, please leave your name and contact information, or just leave I'm interested in the comments, and or you can email me at Hera Hera Diani Dyani at gmail.com, or you can go to my website at ancientvoicerising.com. Today, I have the honor of sitting with a fellow podcaster, Michael Kopf. He is a lifelong experiencer in the paranormal and spiritual realms, whose journey began in early childhood with decades of study and energy work, channeling, Reiki, mythology, and paranormal investigation. Michael has participated in over 100 investigations across multiple states and with several respected teams. He is also the creator and host of his shows, including The Energy That Surrounds Us, Riding Through the Unknown, and Paranormal Verses, where he explores the unexplained, disclosure, and consciousness. Michael is also the author of the Awakening book series, sharing powerful glimpses into his life and path. Welcome to Ancient Voice Rising, Michael. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. I always like to start off with asking my guests to introduce themselves in a way of how did you get to where you are today in all of your interests and stuffs.
So my story begins back when I was teenager and not quite in high school yet, but I had family drama going on and it led me to wonder, what my role was and what my responsibility was. So I decided as I was reading about different paths to follow for faith and stuff that none of them really quite fit. And then I stumbled on New Age metaphysics, and it's like I kind of looked at it as getting to pick the best parts of all the religions and letting go of all the control programming. And so I was like, I like this. I can make this what I want it to be. And so I started on that path and kind of grew up around mediums and going to see people talk and like little grandmother. I went to see her a few times. Got to meet a lot of interesting mediums. And so I was exposed to a world that kind of exists next to this world. It's like it's here, but it's not quite here. So I grew up with shadow beings and interacting with them.
Mm.
I then got into doing some more self-healing work and trying to figure out what parts of me were broken that caused all this drama and trying to take responsibility for stuff that I later found out wasn't mine.
Mhm.
And so, in the course of that, I learned how to forgive myself and how to change patterns in my life that no longer worked for me. And so, I then stumbled on the paranormal fields by joining this Facebook group and was like, yeah, paranormal is seems really cool and I've seen some of the TV shows and so I was like, wow, this is kind of a cool field. And while I was at a meeting for a organization I was at, I got a message on my phone, which was strange because we have really bad signal.
Hmm.
And the message said, "Hey, we have a paranormal team. Would you like to join us?" And I was like, "Wait, this is for real? This is, people actually do this paranormal stuff. It's not just TV, you know, entertainment." And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll try it." And so I went right away on an investigation, and that was, I think, in 2018, 2019, and here
Mhm.
we are today, over 100, almost probably 200 investigations.
Oh, wow.
I decided to go into podcasting because I was approached when I first started investigating with a team to do a show because the network person in charge saw me and he's like, there's something about you. We want to give you a show. And I turned him down because I felt nobody's going to listen to a kid fresh off the block, and I'd have no idea who to even talk to as a guest or how to talk to him. And so then it worked out to where 2, 3 years later, I meet the same person, and I'm looking at this camera, and I have like 5 seconds in front of this camera saying hello to a camera and like interacting with people who are I can't see on the other side of the phone. And next thing I know, they're like, "Yeah, we still want to give you a show." And I was like, "All right." So I spent July to December 2022 doing a podcast show and learning how it works and
Mhm.
realizing the vision of what we had started with and the vision of where we were not congruent. So did a major overhaul, rebranding, and thus my show, The Energy That Surrounds Us, was born out of that show. And then in 2023, my dad passed away, and we had a really big interest in like esoteric and the undisclosed, like hidden truths
Mhm.
around the world and everything. And so I was trying to think in my head, I was like, what can I do to honor, this part that my dad really liked and that I like?
Mhm.
And something just clicked in my head and was like, make a show. And so I started writing through the unknown that August. He passed in June. 2 months later, I launched the show. And I said, I'm going to give myself 10 episodes. It either makes or breaks because I don't know anything about doing a show like of this topic material.
And this was podcasting.
Yes.
So this was talking about it.
Right. I was talking about it, sharing, letting people share their experiences, their knowledge of some topics. And
Did you ever get to be on a paranormal like show where they did paranormal investigations, like followed you around?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
I've thought about doing it, but
Mm,
I'm very careful because I'm not the type that just walks into a room and goes, "Oh, did you hear that?"
right.
And
Yeah.
everyone's like, "No." I'm like, "Neither did I," but that's what the producers wanted me to say. So that's like, I don't. I'm really particular that I'm like, if I was to be on a show, it's like I don't want to represent myself as doing it just for entertainment's sake. It's like it's gotta be legit.
Yeah. I was in talks with Discovery Plus at one time, or Discovery, and about doing a paranormal show. And it was just I ended up not doing it either. I'm like, I can't, you can't fake, like, you can't, when you know something to be so true and so real and in your face, you can't go in somewhere and just fake it. You can, but there's where my ethics and my integrity and my authenticity said, nah. So I get you on
Yeah.
that point. I understand that.
I mean, if I was to do it, I would make sure to make it clear that this is for this purpose and not this purpose, so people will distinguish. And if they do, they do. If they don't, that's up to them. It's like my
Mm,
conscience is clear, so to speak.
yeah,
But, and I have nothing against the shows because to me, it gives me a chance to see locations that I probably will never see because of where they're located or the conditions that they're in. Because unfortunately, places get shut down because
yeah.
of wear and tear and no
Hmm.
upkeep. And so it's unfortunate, but I can say at least I've seen it. And I did have the experience of acting like I was on a TV show because a friend of mine was doing podcasts and she had one of her guests did a live of a battleship
Uh-huh.
and he asked if we would host it. So my friend and I, we were kind of treating it like we were hosting a live paranormal TV show. And so
Yeah.
we would be doing our little quips while they're walking around and ad-libbing stuff and having a lot of fun. And I got the joy of being able to say I have virtually investigated a battleship. And it actually works because we would say, like, we're feeling this. Go check this out. Go look at this. And we would be directing them as much as he was directing his teams.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really kind of fun. It was like 7 hours, I think it ended up being.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was
Battleships
like,
are no joke. I went on the one in Wilmington, North Carolina,
I think that
and
might be the one. I know it's in one of the Carolinas. I think it was the USS either
yes,
North or South
that,
Carolina.
yeah, that's it. It's in Wilmington.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that place is no joke.
Oh no, it was messing with equipment. It was
Mm,
giving off major vibes.
yeah, been in that one. Woo. Some, it's some strong energy there.
It is,
Layers.
and it goes to show it doesn't have to be daytime or nighttime. You don't have to
Mhm,
be present to do this kind of work. You can do it
mhm.
from anywhere. And so I think that was one of the other gifts that I got from doing this experience with him and his team was here I am in Texas investigating a ship in the Carolinas
Yeah.
and I'm picking up stuff and I'm like that's at least 4 or 5 states across.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just shows the energy doesn't have a radius and it's like, okay, I'm out of the radius. Sorry, I can't help you.
Oh,
It's
no,
endless.
not at all. No,
Yeah.
I used to work mainly international with clients for years. I mainly worked in the UK online, like clearing their homes and helping assist with entities and stuff like that that were not there for their highest good or were projection or thought forms, um, or just land, permeated land. Uh,
Yeah.
it didn't matter that they were across the ocean. It did not matter.
Yeah,
Instant, you can feel it instantly.
it is. And the funny thing that how life unfolds is as a teenager, I was told you should write a book. And I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
no one's going to read a book that I write. And
And
then
look at
again
you
in
now.
my 20s and 30s, they would be like, you should totally write a book. Friends would be like, you should write a book. And I'm like, I'm not a writer. Nobody's going to read a book that I write. And come to my 40s, I guess wisdom overrode my senses because in 2025, I ended up taking a book that I wrote in 2024 and broke it into four pieces and created a series
Oh,
and
wow.
published starting in September through December all four books because they were virtually done. So I was like, write them, get them out, publish them, self-published through Amazon. And
Okay.
so I was surprised when I know like my parents would support me, and so, they would buy a copy of each version. So I was like, that's three. But when I was selling like eight, 10 copies of a book, I was like, that's seven other people
Yeah.
reading my stuff. That's
Y-
really cool. And it didn't matter to me if I was on the bestseller list or not. It's like
Right.
seven people have my book in their house. And the
What
way
is what
I,
an amazing way to look at that? Because that perception right there is not a normal streamline of perception.
no,
That's awesome. What are the books? Do you have them with you?
I do have all five books with me. And I will say though, before I show them, one thing that I will say that I think I don't know many authors, so I don't know if this is rare or unique, but what I did was if somebody contributed to my book, like a friend of mine was doing the covers and editing for me,
Mm-hmm.
I sent her two copies, a hard copy and a
Mm-hmm.
paperback, because I can't sign a Kindle version. But I signed and wrote a message to that person for their contribution.
Wow.
And so each book, whoever contributed, I would sign and write a message. And my mom, she helped me with one of the books, but she was buying a copy just to support me and, you know, help me with my dream of making a go at, whatever this journey unfolds into. And so I would sign her copies anyway. And so I now have my copies, her copies, and
Wow.
I just think, I wrote a dedication to everybody that's helped me and who, for each book, who had influence. And on the
Mm,
fifth book, I thought, you hear of like forewords where people wrote a message for somebody about this book. And so I asked a friend, because I was like, what can I do differently to set this book apart from the other set? Because I started working on a trilogy. And she said she would write a forward. And so I was like, I'd never had a forward. So put a forward in. And I was so grateful. And I have a copy of my book to give to her signed because she contributed the foreword. And, to me, it's easy to say to somebody, thank you for doing this. But
hmm.
it's another thing when you hand them something and say, this
Yeah.
is for you because this is as much yours as it is mine because you contributed. And I
Wow.
think that's why I do it is to
That's
say
beautiful.
this is our journey. And so recently my mom passed, and so I contacted my original editor and she was like, "Yeah, life is still wonky, but I'll help you out." And so we'll continue our relationship, and so the books will still be able to flow. But I've learned, don't put all the material out at once, even if it's written. Space it out so people have a chance to read and get
Yeah.
excited for the next book. And the other thing about my books is they're all written from my point of view. They're all written about me and my journey.
Hmm.
And so it could be subject matter like, paranormal investigation. You're going to read about places other people have been, but you're going to read how it impacted me
Gotcha.
and what it was like for me. And I don't use pictures when it comes to the paranormal because I was thinking when I first started it, going, okay, yeah, I've been to this famous location.
Hmm.
So if I put a photo of it up, anybody could claim it's their photo. And I don't want
Yes.
to get into you used my photo. No, I didn't. It's not from the internet. It's from my own personal. And so I was like, no photos.
Yeah.
And just was like, skip that hassle. And I was a little bit worried about that because I was like, everybody likes visuals.
Hmm.
But the first few people that were reading the book actually, well, here, I'll hold up the book since we're talking
Okay.
about it, is my paranormal book, The Awakening, My Journey into the Paranormal.
Okay.
There are no pictures in there, but they were telling me the way I described each location, it was as if they were there. So it's
Uh,
like my words painted a picture, and I was like, to me, that was really cool to hear because that's what I was hoping for.
yeah, absolutely.
And so I was blessed by that. And we all have journeys that we go on in our life and paths that we take, and heroes' journeys come and go. And you have unfoldings, and people, are like, yeah, this is a hot topic right now. Well, yeah, I have experience with that, and I have some information about that. And so it's like, why not write about it since I wrote about the paranormal? And so when it came time to writing book two, this one was a challenge for me. Um, it's
Why
the
was it a
journey
challenge?
of hidden discoveries
Uh-huh.
because
A
it's a
journey of
book,
discoveries.
a
Okay,
journey
there. Now I can see it.
of hidden discoveries.
Okay.
What it is there's a part of my life that I only have started to unlock and become aware of, and it's been a 3-year journey so far. And so it was a challenge because I wanted to write about what I remembered and what I can confirm knowledge of
Uh-huh.
versus what other people have read and said, oh, you were part of this, oh, you were part of that. Well, that's all sounds nice, but when you get somebody who's actually a part of that and then they question you and you can't answer, I feel like you lose credibility.
Mm.
And so I was very careful to write the memories of what I had, what I thought they represented, and I left it to the reader to decide, is it or isn't it? Where does this memory land? Is it a part of this
Huh.
or is it a part of that? And so, and my hope too in writing this was somebody else could start having memory, bleed throughs like I did, to where
Mm.
you remember stuff, but you don't remember how you remember or why you remember. And so
Mhm.
maybe this will help them begin their journey. into discovering where those memories are coming from and everything. And I finished writing that, and the unique thing about those two being the first two books is I couldn't write the paranormal book without including my paranormal podcast show, The Energy That Surrounds Us.
Uh-huh.
So I put its origin story in there towards the
Oh,
end. So you can see how, how it started, what we went through, where it is now, what changed, what is now the goal of. And same thing with the second book is writing through the unknown's origin story. And so I was like, if I'm going to share these, those were the places to put them because
yeah.
that's where they fit and that's what drove them. And it helps to kind of interlay to their aspects to the journey as well, unfolding. And so I then started looking at my life, and I'm sure you've gone through this too, where people are like, oh, you're one of those metaphysics people. So you believe this, you believe that. And I don't think a lot of people really understand what metaphysics is
Hmm.
and what it entails. And so, and I
It's
decided
very
to write
broad.
a book, my journey into the metaphysics.
Okay.
And what it is I look at principles, theories, and different aspects of metaphysics, and I look at it from my perspective and say, this is what it means to me. This is how I learned it. This is how I use it. What do you think? And again, I put it into the reader to go, oh, well, that makes sense.
To
Oh,
interpret it in
maybe,
their own way.
right. And to maybe sit there and go, well, maybe that's why this was happening in my world, in my life.
Mm.
Maybe I am a part of this metaphysics and just didn't realize it. And so I was like, yeah, and I explained like the mirror effect. What is the mirror effect? What's a psychomantium? What is, past lives? I try to explain it in a little bit more depth. And to me, it was like me opening up a piece of my world and saying, here's what I've learned from it and how I learned it. Where do you go from here? Where should
Okay.
I go from there?
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
And then I was like,
That's kind of the way that I resonate with that because people would question what I was putting out. And I'm like, it's okay. It's open for interpretation. This is my interpretation. This is my perspective. This is how I'm learning it.
right. And the second book, the Hidden Discoveries book, I actually included some drawings that I did where I had to recreate one of the drawings from my childhood. And
Uh-huh.
so I wrote recreation because I don't want to claim it as the original because I don't have the original drawing, but I could draw it from memory. And so I was like, here's the recreation. Being honest with y'all, transparent. It's not the original drawing, but it's almost 99.9% exactly the same.
Okay.
And other ideas of what was going on, we put pictures in. And in the metaphysical book, we put images in. And my friend Selena, who was doing the covers for me, helping me with the illustrations in these books. And so some of it is my work, and I call out when it's hers.
Right.
And we use no AI in the books in the series, the Awakening series.
Mm-hmm.
And so we we're looking at, how we have like the Marvel movies and all the movies now where they're like there's Easter eggs they call them in the movies.
Hmm.
Well,
What
I
is that?
thought
What do you mean?
so
What is
Easter eggs are like clues to what's coming, what you're
that?
going to see or what's next, what's the next film going to be about or what's the next
Yes.
topic in the series going to be.
Yes, my
Little
stepfather always
clues.
told me, he always taught me, he's like, wait till after the credits or while the credits are rolling before you get up from the movie theater or you stop watching the movie because almost always there's a prerequisite to what is coming next,
Right.
a preview.
So I was talking with Selena and we and I had these visions of what these covers would look like, and we kind of had to tone them down a little bit because, your imagination and your
Mm,
vision isn't always easy to put on paper.
mm.
And so every cover of my books has an aspect to what's in that book on the cover. So it's like you look at the cover, you know what's coming in the book.
Oh, wow.
And there's little nuance, little clues written throughout. And so she had a lot of fun when it came to the covers because she's like, what image are we hiding in plain sight in this book? What's it gonna look like? And what's
Right.
that? And some of it is like the actual cover itself is like the Easter egg of what, like, for example, looking at the cover of the metaphysics book,
Uh-huh.
the energy of the crystals and me interacting with it, that's what the
Oh,
book is
yeah.
about. So this book, the huge image is the Easter egg,
Oh,
whereas in the paranormal book, you have the pyramids of Egypt because I talk about that. And
okay.
there's a portal. This side is mystical, this side is real. So I'm talking about, different worlds. And then this cover is Mars mixed with the Earth and a cave, and there's a spirit woman, all
Oh,
of which gets talked about in the book. And there's a reason it looks like I'm holding a lightsaber. It's all in the book. And
yeah.
so it's like I literally took
Brilliant.
and was like, here are the topics of the book. And then we got to the fourth book, which is my personal life, kind of.
Mhm.
I'm like, I covered my paranormal side, covered my metaphysical, covered my 3 year new journey, but I haven't really shared my life. Like, what travels did I make? What journeys did I go on? And so I wrote, this one is a glimmer into who I become. And
Oh,
this is my journey. And you'll see
okay.
there's a portal in the background, and on the
Yeah.
boat there's a map. So that's traveling the world. There's
Uh-huh.
an hourglass that talk about genetics and ancestry
Yep. The bear paw.
and spirit animals. There's dragons,
Yeah.
wolves, different constellations. So there's a lot encoded in this book.
Oh, how much fun.
And in that book, because it was my journey and I wanted to pay a tribute to my dad, keeping his memory alive as well.
Hmm.
Was thinking about writing a book about him, but then I was like, how do I put into words, everything about someone that, make people, interested? And then I was like, you know what? I was just guided to just create 2 chapters at the end of that book that I did not anticipate on
Huh?
and was a little leery, but I did it anyway because Spirit told me to do it. And the first of the two last chapters in that book is a picture of my life from a kid to where I am today. So you can flip through and look at photographs
Oh,
and
wow.
see me grow up before your eyes.
Oh, wow.
And the last chapter is the same premise, except it's my dad. So I
Oh,
took photos of him when he was a kid,
uh-huh.
growing up to having family. And so it was like a way of tribute to him.
Huh.
And so I know everybody reading the books is
Um,
like, well, that's your dad, he's doesn't mean anything to us, but I'm like, that's a, key half of creating me. So
yeah.
I it's important to me. And so I included it for that reason. And then I took a couple of months off of writing to do some other stuff. And I then started sitting down and going, so many people ask me about explaining different topics.
Mm,
And so what could I do to facilitate or make this easier or make, have something to reference.
mhm.
And I just started laughing at myself and started typing on the keyboard. And before I knew it, I had a new book out that I was originally going to write it just by itself. But then everybody was asking me about two other major topics. And I was like, if I was to write a book explaining those, it would kind of be similar to the first one of those. So I was like, I'm only going to do three of these. So I started working on a trilogy, which
Okay.
I released the first book in March. And this one, my mom actually edited it for me.
Oh, wow.
And I did the cover because Selena was trying, but life was getting in the way and she didn't want to
Mm.
hold it up. And she was like, do you mind doing it yourself? And she helped me to figure out how to do it myself. And so I can do them now myself, but it's not as creative in my opinion. But I had a lot of fun with it. And I ended up having to use AI because I'm not as artistic
Uh-huh.
or didn't feel like I had the time to be as artistic. And so a deeper insight into the mind of Michael was born. And
Oh, wow. Tip it
the
back just a little bit. There we go, right there.
I kept it to where the UFO has lightning that's coming down and striking my head, and I'm looking up, and out of the portal are four or five ideas that I talk about in the book. And yes, that is my actual picture sitting in front of this forest and storm, thinking. I actually had fun taking different poses of me thinking to see which
Yeah,
one lines up best for this book. But what I did for this book,
I think it looks great.
I was quite pleased with it. And
Well, you
so
should be.
this book, what I did was I was like, I go, okay, past lives and ancestry, are they intertwined? How are they intertwined? Well, so I went and I was like, okay, so chapter one, and ancestry and genealogy, past lives. So I describe what is a past life from research, what does science say a past life is? Then I go, okay, so this definition in my mind means this. And then I go, so this is how I learned and used it in my life and through memories. And at the end of that, I go, so do you think past lives are real? Do you think you've had any past lives? Do you, think ancestry and past lives are connected? And so I
Mhm.
leave it with a question, but you go through and you get to see my research. And like another chapter was thought versus perception. And I
Mm.
use movie quotes to say, here's a view of thought. Here's a view of perception. Are they intertwined? Are they separate? What do you think? Here's what the science defines it as. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's me taking you on a journey how I research and think about these topics. And I don't write a conclusion at the end because I haven't even concluded an
Yeah.
answer to it yet. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna write one and then be like 3 months later go, oh hey, by the way, this happened. So now I'm rewriting my ending to this section to this.
So
Well,
you left it open-ended.
I left it open-ended for the reader and for me to have freedom to continue to grow and not feel like, okay, done.
Yeah.
But I did do something a little different as well with this book is I took and I wrote a challenging chapter
Oh.
to where I go, here are blind truths we have accepted. And what it is like I bring up one section of that chapter is the grass that we look at is green. How do we know it's green? How do we know that what we're calling green isn't brown? Because we grew up in school telling us green is green. But who decided that? And then I had a science friend, and I write about this that said, well, it's the frequency, is absorbing everything but the frequency of green, and it's being reflected back. So we see green.
Hmm.
And I go, but how do we know that's the frequency of green? Because we really don't. And so I go and I'm writing, and I'm like going, we here is, we really don't know. For all we know, the Matrix movie is correct and everything is frequency, and we're looking at an abstract version, and I'm like, well, at the end of the chapter I go, I will blindly accept the grass is green because it's aesthetically more pleasing to look at than frequency code running up and down. And I'm okay with that. I still know
Hmm.
it's the truth is we don't know,
Hmm.
but I'm okay accepting that blind truth. And
Yeah.
so I let the readers know I'm not trying to unravel your world. I'm not trying to make, everybody forget what they know and start over from scratch, go like Stone Age mentality. I'm saying we can accept things are not necessarily true, but accept them knowing that is okay. We don't have to say, well, the grass is no longer green because he's right. We don't know what green looks like. And the sky is no longer blue because we don't know what that really looks like. And so,
But how exciting would life be if we lived like that?
well, that's just it. We can, but I'm just saying we don't have to unravel and be like, and take all the beauty out of the world by saying this isn't real.
Right.
I'm like, we can accept it's not real and enjoy the beauty for what it is.
But how do we not know that it's real?
Well, we know it's not real because everything is matter. And so we perceive the desk is a desk. So we perceive our perception makes the desk real. But in reality, there is no desk. So I could literally put my hand
And
through it.
how do you prove that?
I prove it by looking at the fundamental energy and knowing everything in its basis is energy. So what does energy look
Hmm.
like? It looks like light. It looks like energy waves. Energy is not solid. but our perception of it makes it solid. So
Right.
therefore, it's solid.
Okay. I
And
just wanted to,
so,
if a viewer is starting to like their mind is starting to go split open, I wanted to kind of put that into perspective there.
right. And so that's why I write it the way that I do, and I don't conclude even with that aspect. Like another interesting one that I recently came across is the moon. We all were taught in school the moon was around since the beginning. It broke off of the earth and has always been around us.
Mm,
That's not exactly true.
mm-mm.
There's pre-Columbian tribes, the Romans, the Greeks, the Zulu. So tribes all over the world have written about tribes that existed pre-moon. And so it's like, wait a minute, how can someone talk about a world without the moon if the moon was always there? How could they
So,
miss that object in the sky? So I'm like, this object can't be from the earth. Something had to move it into our atmosphere or into our orbit.
do you believe that it affects us?
I think it does, energy wise, it has an impact. And so everything in space has an impact on us.
Hmm.
And that is something we've forgotten is we've isolated ourselves to being earthbound and not
Mm,
galactic. And
mm.
so it's like, we say weather, oh, the weather, these storms are going to hurt us. We're talking tornadoes, hurricanes, earthly weather.
Yeah,
But solar storms affect us. The sun flares, everything in space is affecting us more so than here. And so I think, part of awakening to our true potential, we talk about, wanting to meet the ETs and the star beings and, join the galactic family. But until we start looking at ourselves as part of,
hmm,
it's never going to happen because we're limiting ourselves to Earth is the only life, Earth is where we are. And so until we open our minds and accept our galactic
right.
aspect and connection, we're
Hmm.
you're never going to grow out of this 3D or 4D Earth realm.
Well, what I have come to kind of get a grasp on, I can't ever say that you have a full knowing of everything. That's, but that this interaction that's always been here is going to start slowly to open people up to that aspect, that perception of that it's always been here. It's always been here and not there.
Well,
And it is a part of it's a part of us as well.
well, it depends on how you look at it. Like, for example, in I believe it's the Isle of Knossos near Crete,
Mhm.
where they have the stone archway that they found, and it's got a Triceratops on it, Tyrannosaurus on it. But yet, dinosaurs have been extinct millions of years before man. So, how did
But
they
are they
draw?
really?
Well, but see, that's what I mean is if they drew an animal, they had to see it to know about it. So, how did they see it if it's been dead for millions of years by what science tells us? So, either science is wrong and dinosaurs didn't die off as long ago as they say they did,
Mm.
or somebody was sharing technology to where they could see the past and were like seeing these
Well, I thought
creatures and
archaeologists discovered dinosaurs, but I think we go. I think that we have been here in some capacity with that those ancient animals, the those time millions of years. I think
Well,
we've been here.
yeah, and there's the other option of looking at it and going,
Oh,
civilization that they tell us is only like what, since 20,000 or 60,000 BCE,
mm,
but the dinosaurs were like 100,000 or a million years BCE. So
yeah,
there's a
it's a
huge gap.
million.
And so
Mm,
either civilization was around at the same time and they're not telling us about that
mhm.
civilization, or they were using technology we don't have to see the past. And it's the same with Egypt. Egypt has hieroglyphs, I've seen them on the ceiling where you can't get to, of submarines, helicopters. It's plain as day, sailing boats that they have no imagery of. So how did they see in the future to draw it in the past? And so things have been around manipulating our timelines and our histories. And another aspect that I look at along with that is, you know, we say, nobody could ever pull the wool over all of our eyes.
Meh.
But then I have looked at paintings for, in art museums all my life. And then as I started waking up to what's going on and everything around us, not being what it seems to be, I
Mhm.
look at some of those paintings again and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a UFO in this painting. How did I not see that before? Because we didn't have the belief. And what I mean by that is I had a teacher who was a medium say if you take 15 people in a room and you tell them there's a UFO landing outside and you can go see it, you got five people who don't believe. They go outside, they
They're
see
not gonna see
absolutely
it.
nothing.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah,
like, empty lot, just trees. There's nothing here. You get the
I've heard a similar
skeptics.
story to this. Yeah,
Yeah. And the five skeptics, they're like, I see something. I don't know what it is. It's kind of blurry. So maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe it's something else. And they move on. And then you get the five people who are like, I absolutely believe in UFOs. They go out and they're like, wow, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And look, there's the pilot coming out to say hello, and they get first contact.
yeah.
Why? Because their perceptions filter what they see. Their thoughts
Mm,
generate their perceptions, which generates what their brain processes. And so when we have the perception to see and the thoughts to see and believe, we start to see the world for what it really is. But if we then turn around and say, no, I don't like the way the world looks, this isn't right, I don't, the unfortunate thing is we can't unlearn what we've learned.
yeah.
So it's like
Mm,
once you start to the awakening, you can't turn it off and go back to being the quote, you know,
normal?
living in the bottle and
I
being
thought
oblivious to everything. And
there is no more normal when you start waking up to this stuff.
yeah,
Orion
and
tried to help me with that for a very long time. He said, Hera, you have got to look at, in order to keep moving and to keep evolving, the sky will always be blue, the grass will always be green. You need to make sure that you stay in in a grounded reality in order to keep creating. Um, And that really helped me because I was seeing energy like spreading apart and things just disappearing and reappearing. And it started to get like how you can get vertigo, where things don't feel stable.
Yeah,
And
vertigo.
so, yeah. And so when he came through and I was channeling, what he was telling everyone to bring it all back together, it was like, remember, the sky is always blue, the grass is always green, there's going to always be trees, there's water. Remember that so that you can walk this path, this journey cohesively and still go and learn and evolve and help, co-creation.
Right. And
Mhm.
I think there's also a facet of when you look at the world we live in, what do we do with people who can defy reality?
Mm,
We worship them, or we make them deities, or we try to kill them. Those are like
yeah.
the three main options. So if I was to sit there and go, gravity no longer applies to me, I can float and fly. I'm running the risk of somebody looking up and seeing me freaking out and trying to kill me because
You're
I'm
floating.
flying, which is not normal.
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh my God, that kid's a god. Look at what he's doing. And it's like, I'm not a god. But yeah, and so there are things we have to work within, and we can't just flick the switch and go, okay, we're now operating in this true awareness because it would freak everybody else out. And it would have the anti effect of what we're doing, of trying to help people grow and free themselves. It's like if you free yourself and you're flying around, some people will be like, oh man, I wish I could do that, but I can't. And so, oh well. And then you'll have people who are like, I want to do that. Why can't I do it? And they'll get frustrated and give up. And then you'll have people who are like, what a freak. And not even attempt. And so it's like,
Have you tried it in your own space?
I have.
Yeah. Did you fly?
No, not yet. But I feel like it's because I still have that programming of
Yeah.
I don't want to freak everybody out. And so, nope. But I mean, and
Sometimes I feel like I have someone putting a hand down, going, hold on, put on the brake a little bit, put the brake on, hit the brake pedal, girl. It's like, and I'm
mm,
like, but I know how to do this. Like what, it's like, can't, why can't I just do it? And they're like, you just stop. It's
yeah.
like, just
It's
hang on a minute.
when I'm in the astral travel, when I'm traveling in the astral realm, it's like I can blitz around and I can be like
Yeah.
across the world in like less than a second and be like, this is super cool. And then I'm like, I'll look at my watch and I'm like, oh, I'm running late. Oh, I'm not in the astral. I gotta go walk over to the car, turn it on, drive over, and it takes time to get there.
Yep.
But there are times that I'll forget and I'll be like, I'll try to like move faster than, and it's like the body just doesn't go, and it's like
It's like, come on, come
I'm
on.
still on the earth realm. I
Yep,
forget
I'm
I'm on the
still
earth
on the earth.
realm.
Yes, I think for the past several years, especially working with the ancient wisdom, the what we call dragon energy, I've been going in my sleep to different schools in my dreams, learning different things. And because I wake up and I just know stuff, and there's no reason for me to just know it or to say something. And I go, huh? And then I'll have to write it down and go back and reread it and go, where did this come from? And they're like, really? And I'm like, because I don't remember any of my dreams. I haven't been able to remember one of my dreams since 2020. But I've moved through all different types of like esoterics, shamanism, hermetics, different types of medicines. Like I just wake up with it.
Yeah, I have those moments where I just have knowledge of and no idea where it comes from, but
Yeah. I wake up and it's like, where did, it's like maybe something that happened the day before. I get the reason why I didn't do something that day. They'll lay out why it wouldn't go through, why it didn't happen the way, you know, um, and that I was really actually listening to my intuition about it. And you helped me with with something. And after we talked, a couple mornings later, I woke up hearing them going, this is what would have happened if you would have gone down that trail. Let us lay it out for you. This is why there is a stop mechanism of your soul, your guides. There is guidance. And it totally just, I was like, it it made so much sense
yeah.
and why I was
And
stuttering so bad with that.
and that's how a lot of times things come about, and it's fun to experience. And I was blessed with a paranormal experience last year, actually pretty close to just literally over a year ago to the same month, to where I was in San Antonio and I was visiting the Alamo and walking
I love,
around. And a friend of mine I knew lived there, and he was like, always wanted me to come and check this place out that he knows about, but you had to be of a certain mindset to go to this location. And I'm about to explain why, but I'm setting it up to where I finished doing a show and was like, okay, I'm gonna go check out this location my friend didn't want to go with that I was traveling with. And so I was like, all right. He stayed in the room. I went by myself to this location, and we get there and the moon is up and there's no clouds in the sky. So it's like, okay, I can't see water flowing on either side of this bridge. All I can see is this bridge in front of me.
oh
And
wow.
I'm like, this is going to be interesting. So we start walking, and he's like, you walk ahead, we'll follow behind. I'm like, what are you doing to me? But I'm like, okay. So I start walking, and the path splits. I decide to keep going straight and figuring what's going to happen this way. And as I'm walking, I can hear things jumping through the trees.
Mm,
There are no actual animals jumping through the trees, but I can hear it and
hmm.
I can sense it. And I'm like, there is something following me, something is pushing me along this path. And then out of the corner of my left eye, I turn and I look and I see this woman in a white dress just blitz by. And I go to my friend, I was like, I just saw a woman in white. And he goes, oh, you've seen the Lady of the Forest already? I was like, yeah. He's like, wow, okay. And I'm like, he's like, what does it feel like? I'm like, I don't know. It's just, it was so fast, but I
Yeah.
definitely know I saw, and there's something following me. And then there was, I went into the forest off the path, and I start walking to my right, and I hear my footsteps, and I hit a certain spot, and I turn, and I go, they know we're here.
Uh,
We're surrounded. And friend of the guy that invited me, his teammate, had walked in behind me, and
oh,
I never heard his footsteps, but I knew he was there. And we found this old TV set from like the 1980s, those big, TVs.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like the backing of it. I'm like, why is this here? That is so bizarre. And I was like, we need to turn around and go back to the path because whatever's here is surrounding us, and it's cryptid, but I haven't fully identified which cryptid yet. And so I was like,
Mm.
okay. So we get back to the path and we walk back from to the bridge, and we decide to take the path to the right where it split off the first time. And he's telling me, that there's this one spot that's coming up that, he really wants me to try and experiment. And I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, we're sensing time and not a lot of time has passed, maybe
Hmm.
20 minutes. So we're like, okay, we got plenty of time. So we see where this path ends into a creek, and I can see the water. And so I'm like, how come I can see the water now, but I couldn't see it before? Okay, interesting mental note. And then we turn around and I see something go by. And as I focus on what I saw moving, I'm like, there's a trash can.
Yeah.
And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, I literally just saw something running, and where it stopped running, it's not hiding behind, it became the trash can. And he
Oh.
goes, oh, you're seeing the shapeshifters now. I was
What?
like, I'm seeing the what? I'm like, what have you brought me into? And so,
And this was a physical place. This
yes.
so it wasn't a show or anything. It was like,
No, this is a like physical place in San Antonio. I couldn't tell you where it is,
right.
and I wouldn't recommend going there either without somebody who knows the lay of the land. And I'm about to explain why. Is we turn a corner and he goes, what do you see to your right?" I said, "Well, there's trees that are creating an archway, but the archway is always the same. No matter how far I turn, the
Mm,
image is the same," which
interesting.
my mind is like, this is not usual, but okay, maybe it's just perception of the night sky, and so okay, I'm all right. And then he goes, I want to show you this chair that's in this forest. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking a
There's
real
just a chair in
chair.
the forest.
And we start walking through this path, and it's these wooden pieces that have fallen and literally formed like a chair.
Oh, wow.
And so he's sitting in it, and he goes and he just kind of chuckles. And they start this AI app that they created or were using and have been modifying and working with. And I noticed this mist starts coming in.
Mm,
I'm like, this is not ordinary mist. This is a totally different mist. Something's going on. And I'm like, something's being distorted.
mm,
And I was starting to feel energy is changing, and it's like, okay. He goes and he starts laughing at me and he goes, "Do you think you can get us out?" I was like, "It took us 5 minutes to get in. It's not going to be that hard to get us out." I start walking away and I stop after maybe five, 10 steps. And I go, this is wrong. And he goes, what? I said, I just started walking away from the chair and I'm walking towards the chair. I had somehow turned around 180 without physically turning around.
Oh, goodness.
And I was like,
Interesting.
this is a dimensional portal.
Mm.
And I was like, the dimensions are changing here. And I was like, the mist is becoming more. And I was like, and so I stopped and I said, if this is going towards there, I need to then turn around. And so I turned 180 and I started walking. And then I would veer off to the right a little bit. And then I would veer off to the left. And I was like, I found the out. And my friend comes out behind me with his friend. And they had this stunned look on their face. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, one, you figured that out really actually kind of quick. And two, you brought us out where we came in. Most of the time, we are further up when we
Oh,
come
wow.
out. And so I was like, okay, so this is really going to start preying on my mind. So I'm like, okay, energy focus, energy in check. And we start walking, and I'm looking on the sides, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of like, I would almost describe it as if you've seen Star Wars when they show like the Jedis who have passed, they have that kind of auric glow to them.
Mm.
Well, I'm seeing that behind certain places in the forest, and I'm like, something strange about this. And my friend goes, you've noticed, haven't you? And I was like, I think so, but I'm not quite sure. And he goes, watch this. And so I'm looking at this path that goes into the forest that has this bluish hue to it. He shines his flashlight on it, branches all across. There is no path. But when you turn the light off, there's a path.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like,
Oh, wow.
what? And he goes, you can walk through it. I was like, no, you can't. You can't walk through wood. I'm not a expert in science, but I know you can't walk through branches.
Yeah.
And he goes, try it. I was like, are you for real? And I said, yeah. So I start walking this path. He goes, now stop, turn around. And I'm like, yeah, I see you guys. He goes, watch this. He turned the flashlight on. I was on the other side of the branches.
Oh, wow.
I never stepped on a branch, never had a branch tug my
How do you
pants.
how do you explain that?
It's a dimensional portal. It's like a hologram covering a dimensional portal.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
so when you put the light on it, it breaks the holographic image and shows what's there. But when there's nothing there, your mind creates the essence of there's nothing there so you can walk through because your mind's
Oh.
filter says there's a path. So it creates the path.
Yes, okay. I had one of my guides tell me one time, and I just attributed it to spirit, but it says they said, you can walk through walls. And I was like, when I'm dead, I can. And they're like, no, you can walk through walls. And I'm like, but when you see the wall, you can't walk through the wall. It's like that,
Right.
right?
Yeah. You'd have to say there is no wall to walk through the wall.
Okay.
And so I
Interesting.
started then walking further in on one and I started getting tangled up in this vine and it actually ended up cutting my leg with a thorn
Uh-huh.
and it took like almost all night for my leg to heal, which is highly unusual for me. If I get a scratch, it's usually within a minute healed and done. So I was like, this
Really?
is concerning to me that my leg is still scratched and not healing and it's starting to bug me. But I was like, I finally got free of it and I came back through, and my friend had told me if I had gone back further in to where I was,
Hmm.
I would have fallen down a levee into a riverbed
Oh gosh.
and I may not have survived the fall. And I was like, oh, so it was like the forest was telling me, don't go. This is as far as we're letting you go. We don't want
Yeah.
you to die, so
Yeah.
get go
It's
back.
those guardrails. It's like, all right, we'll let you have this, but you can't go past this point. Or
And so I found
you
another one and I tested the theory again and was able to walk through. And this time I was there and I was watching a native indigenous family living in the forest
wow.
in the blue hue, but they were not there.
Right.
It's like I was seeing a different timeline or a different
Mm.
dimension right in front of my eyes. And so I came out, and this is where I mentioned earlier the cryptids. This is why is we hit a point to where there's a path that veered off to the left and one that kind of arced and went to the right. And my friend goes, "Which way do you want to go?" And I started to go towards the left, and then I was like, "Nope." I was like, "We're going to the right." And he goes, "Good choice." To the left is a hive of Wendigos.
Oh
And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to mess with those."
no.
And right in front of us, I stop at a certain point, and right before we made a U-turn, and I go, "There's a cave entrance right there." And he goes, "Are you sure about that?" And I was like, "I would bet you money that that is a cave entrance." He turned his light on. It was like a tree canopy over solid ground, but when you
Oh
turned the
wow.
light off, it went down. It was like a
Oh wow.
tunnel entrance. And I was like, "Oh man, this
And you guys weren't tripping on drugs or anything.
nope. We all we
That's
had was
wow.
water." And so this is going to really get you going is after we do this U-turn in this forest, something inside of me says you need to look up.
Mm.
I look up and I can see the moon right in front of me, like right here. Here's Orion's belt.
Yep.
Here's Orion's belt. There's two Orion belts in the sky.
Oh.
And I'm sitting there, and for a brief second, I'm like, and I even called out to him and I said, "There's two Orion belts in the sky. Do you see that?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, I'm no expert in astronomy, but we don't have two constellations of the same kind in the
Uh-uh.
sky at the same time. And he goes, "No, we don't." And I'm like, "But I'm seeing this." And he goes, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "Kind of like I'm in between." And so it's like I described it as being in the hallway where I could make the good and the bad, are on both sides. It's like I'm in the middle of a mirror. And
Mm.
depending on which way I step will determine which reaction I'm going to get. And he's like, "Yeah, you're in the mirror realm of the forest. Everything is mirrored here." And we found this house that was in ruins. And we start walking back. And remember how I said, like, time, we'd only been there 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get back to the hotel because I got to drive back the next day, and I wanted to be in bed by, 3, 4, 3, because I got to get some sleep. We started the journey at 11 p.m.
Hmm.
It was almost 3 a.m. getting out of the forest.
Oh wow.
I was thinking it was 1, 2 o'clock maybe. We
Yeah.
had lost a huge amount of time in the
Mm.
forest. And the forest wasn't done with us.
Oh.
So we start walking back, and he's telling me how he's walked with some people to where a lady with her husband were walking, and the husband said, I'll go ahead and I'll go get this. Well, he completely disappeared. They couldn't find a trace of him. And they were like, uh-oh, did we lose somebody in the forest? What's going on? And then he came back where he said he was like probably 5 feet, we'll say 5.5 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
When he came back, he was like 8, 9 feet tall.
Oh my gosh.
And he
Ah,
started shrinking the closer that they got to each other and was like normal sized when they met up. And I was like, that's kind of trippy. But
that
I
I was
can get
going
the
to say that is trip.
disappearance, but I don't know about the getting taller part. And just as I started thinking about that, so the trail goes like this and bends and then comes back. We're walking and the bend does this and just creates a straight line.
Oh wow.
Concrete actually moved from a curve to a straight line.
Interesting.
And I was like, I looked at him and I said, you just saw that, right? He goes, yes. I was like, I'm no engineer, but I do know concrete does not get up and move, nor does it go from a bend to a straight line without issues. And he's like, I know what you mean. And we're walking and it keeps doing that. It's like our path becomes a straight line in front of us.
Oh wow.
And we go back and we get to the bridge. I can now hear the water running on one side, and I can see the water running. And I go to the other side of the bridge, and the water is perfectly still like glass.
Wow.
And I'm like, there is
How is
nothing
that?
known to man that can be under this bridge that'll keep the water full on one side with no movement.
Yeah.
Water doesn't just stop.
Uh-uh.
And so I was like, where the hell are we? What? And so I started calling it the dimensional forest because I was like, this is just trippy. And I'm like, I'm feeling like I may go back and like
How
revisit the
was that a
forest.
blessing? What made you think that that was a blessing to be able to experience all of that and to
Well, to me,
different dimensions?
the blessing was I had the awareness to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the awareness of not freaking out and going, nutso and being like, this is all impossible. Oh my God, and freaking out and having a mental breakdown
Mm-hmm.
because I was warned before I stepped foot on that bridge. They were like, are you sure you can mentally handle this?
Wow.
Because people have gone in here and have come out seeking mental help because they break. The
Mm.
forest will break you or it'll guide you. We don't know. And so I was like, partially in my mind going, yeah, I'm not afraid, bring it. And another part of me going, well, it's time to put up or shut up because,
Yeah.
I say, I'm not
Buckle
worried
up.
about
Buckle
this.
up.
And
Here we go.
if I'm not ready, it's going to come apparent now. And so I was doing a show and my friend popped in and he's like, hey, it's about time for you to come back in for the forest. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at, trying to find time to come down and, revisit. And it's one of those, it's, I say to people, again, if you want to experience it, let me know and I'll put you in touch with my friend that guides people around in there. And it's not arrogance or ego driven, but if my friend says no,
Yeah.
it's for your safety. He's saying no and do not enter.
Mm-hmm.
And if he says okay, you're good to go, you're good to go. Don't worry about it. Be open to what's going to happen. But
Interesting.
don't enter this spot by yourself. And I even was talking with some of the guards around the Alamo because I got back at like 4 a.m. to the Alamo to get up at 7 to drive back home. And I'm walking around and I'm asking them about spirits and ghosts. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why are you out? And I was like, oh, I just came back from this haunted forest. And they're like, oh, that forest. I was like, yeah. And there's legends of native indigenous tribes living in that forest and still living in that forest. And I have a feeling everything that I experienced, as amazing and mind opening as it was like the tip of the iceberg of what's possible. And so it's
Yeah.
like, I want to go back and be like, okay, you've already showed me this. Now show me what's next. You don't have
Oh
to show me this
gosh.
again. Show me the next part. I'm
Will you
ready.
film? I wonder if can you film it when you go back?
You know, I took a body cam through and I don't know that the body cams can pick it up because it needs light to like pick up what's there. And so since a lot of stuff reacts to light,
Got it. Okay.
I'm thinking, I really should go back and look at the footage, but it was just it's one of those to where it's like the experience is more than the footage
Right.
is worth. But I have a different cell phone now that has like a nighttime mode.
Uh-huh.
And so I might take my phone with me and be like, hey, let's hook it up to a battery so I don't drain it while I'm out here.
Yeah.
And let's walk around and film and see if this camera will pick up what's going on or hear what we're hearing. And
If you do, please put it out there for us that can't get there to see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we,
Well,
we even had fun messing with some kids that came in. They were like college age kids and they were just like messing around. And I was like, do they have any idea? And he's like, nope. And so
oh,
the guy that was with us, his teammate, starts yelling at him, going, oh my God, did you see the ghost of what's out there? And they're like, there's a ghost here? Yeah. And there's like, and you might disappear here. There are people that disappear here.
oh my gosh.
And they were like, we're gonna go back. We're out of here. I was like, yeah, that was hilarious. We were like spooking people to get them to leave because we're like, you're not ready for this.
So if you want to know what this place is called in San Antonio, just say I'm interested and I'll get the name of the place from Michael or Michael can respond if you're out in that area. I used to live in Austin. I used to go to San Antonio all the time. I loved it
Yeah.
there.
It's a 5 hour drive for me, so it's like not that easy to just pop over and be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could leave early in the morning and do it and drive back, but not at night. And so I'm kind of tempted to see if I can arrange a daytime visit for him because he said he'll do the same thing in the daytime. And
Oh,
so
that's neat.
I,
That's when
I
I wouldn't go at night. I'd go during the day, but I wouldn't go at night.
yeah.
Yeah. No.
So
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I might, but I don't know. I'm not really an outside nighttime person. But
yeah. It's it's an experience. And so
yeah,
I can say to him, hey, I've done the nighttime. Can we do a daytime? And I'll drive down and, do a daytime version of it and
that'd be
meet up
interesting.
and do it. And then I'll drive back and be like, yeah, what did I just walk through? And try to find a way of being more adapt with the time and see, maybe taking a time device with us and be like,
Right.
see how
Right.
if it gets manipulated.
Oh, there you go. Well, Michael, we're coming to the end. Is there anything else that you would like to add or say to the viewers?
Well, one thing I would probably add and say would be is no matter where you are in life, no matter what's going on, always have hope because
Mm-hmm.
that's the spark that drives the human spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And know, no matter what, you can rise above it, be the phoenix, and know as much as people can manipulate us and control us in a way, they cannot take the spark that's at our core. So as long as you hold to that light, then you'll be fine.
Wonderful advice. Wonderful advice. Thank you for being on Ancient Voice Rising and sharing your story and sharing your adventures and your books and your podcast. We will put the links to everything in the comments under this video on YouTube for everyone to find. And I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And I look forward to having you back.
I'll be happy to come back anytime.
I think we have more to talk about.
Oh, there's always more.
Yeah, there's always more, always more. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And like I said, if you would like to see anything else on the Ancient Voice Rising podcast, please leave it in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, please. Thank you. Peace out.